Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Like-Minded Creators Podcast. My name is Chris, and joining me as always are my tag team partners Greg Telfan and Zach Ali. And today we have a wonderful topic to discuss. We are going to discuss touring, guys. Now, working at a music venue, I see all sorts of stories going on with touring packages, bands coming into tour, and different crew and different touring managers. Everything that goes into making what a tour is. The tiniest variable can make any tour a fantastic tour or a really not so good tour. And I've seen both sides of the extreme. I've seen tours even just the other day where everyone in the bands and the crew, they were tremendous, and it was such a nice flow of events. And then there were other tours where it took 6.5 hours to sound check 3 bands. So wow. we've all had nightmare stories like that. So I want to get your guys' perspective. And we also have a guest today, guys. Joining us is a good buddy of mine who I've collaborated with for years in other bands. We have TJ Seesselberg, aka Cookie Riot on YouTube. He just released a solo covers album. He's working on more original music, and he's not bad of a YouTuber himself. So TJ, welcome.
How you doing, man? What's going on?
Love the enthusiasm. So we are talking about. That's
how he feels about touring.
Yeah. So we are discussing touring, and guys, let's just give a background of what it's like to be on tour.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with myself. I don't have a big experience touring because they're very hard to get on. As like all coming from different levels of where you're at, right? So I've been on tours where they're like Thursday through Sunday. Twice a month, and that's the type of stints you could do because that's what you could afford. You have a full-time job. You didn't have the opportunity to go on these tours where you're getting paid enough just to pay your bills. So it was always that conflicting thing. But you don't have to specifically do that, and that's part of the equation of being a musician and an entrepreneurial and trying to pay your bills at the same time. But there's a lot of opportunity out there where you can get on these tours, but for me, it had to be the right opportunity to be able to pay my bills. So any opportunity that I had, it was like, if I don't make money, then I'm not going to be able to pay my bills. I don't want to live on the fucking street, you know what I mean? But I'll still be able to play gigs and all this. And when you do go on tour, like logistically, make it make sense for you if you do it on your own and you don't have like a bigger band taking you on the road, which most of the time that's what it's going to be anyway. So the type of opportunities you get into and the way you network, that's going to get into the right opportunity to get the tours you're looking for. But if you don't have those specifically, which most of the time you don't, otherwise everybody would be doing it, and that would be cool. But it's that difficult of a situation you need to get yourself in where it's like, okay, what's my overhead when I come home? What kind of bills? And make sure that you're getting paid at least enough. Or if you live with your parents, take advantage of that and they'll let you do that. That's fucking cool. I never had that opportunity. But when I did have opportunities, we logistically made sense. We shared a van with a band. We shared the equipment, so we set it up together. So, getting set up was like fucking right away.
Was this over the course of 1 tour or 2 tours?
This is in the course of like many tours, just linking up with bands and just hopping in their van. And then we had a Suburban from my guitarist's dad, so we would take that out. We played the Northeast a lot. But, you make it make sense because you don't want to spend so much money because you're not getting paid probably. But the best thing you could do is bring merch and make sure you sell something there and make the best of the tours that you have, or the stints. I call them stints for me, that I've gotten to do that made it worthwhile for me, where you're not paying for anything at least. And at least it's covering the cost of that, and then whatever you sell in merch is profit. And then getting emails and all the people that you meet and making sure you're still in contact with them and building that fan base. So when you go back to that place, it's like 10 times better than it was before. Making the best out of the 12-person gig that you can get 3 emails from that we're going to tell 4 other friends about your band. So when next time you go back, you're going to fucking bring them. And that's the experience I had. So that's the way I made the best of the situations I had the opportunity to take advantage of.
What about you, Zach?
Okay, so I probably have arguably the worst tour horror story.
Great. I don't know, from our pre-production talk here, I think TJ may have a competition.
No, this is a good one, though. This is a really good one.
You brought up the fact, from the perspective of a sound guy, it's like a completely, different, you're worried about how long is it taking to do sound check and this and that, but when you're on the road, and when something goes wrong, it, like you said, it could lead to a bunch of things, right?
Yeah.
So, the type of vehicle you're traveling in, how easy it is to replace parts on such vehicles, and are you on a tour with another band, and is it their vehicle? Do they take care of their vehicle?
Yeah.
There's like all these little components you got to look out for, and
I mean, simple fact today with how expensive gas is, it all depends on
that is always boggles my mind too.
I think I saw like a story a couple weeks ago. I think like Avenged Sevenfold's touring bus is like $7,000 a month or something just on gas and fuels. Like
it's when you're
I know they're
status,
raking in money, but like
that. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like it just it's a commodity. What are you gonna do? But they factor that in if they're paying to 20,000 people a night. That's fucking awesome. At whatever $45, $50, $100 a pop ticket. I mean, dude, you're great.
yeah.
Yeah, but can you
elaborate on the story?
Yeah.
Am I really going to tell this whole story?
Hold on. Streamline it for the fact that
basically things go wrong on the road. Before
you even say that, our experience when we went on the road in Kentucky, we didn't have a sound system, and we were playing a fucking stadium, and it was not the kind of stadium gig you thought. It was just like, we're playing like part of the stadium, but there we go. They're like, yeah, we don't have a PA here. We're like, we just drove to fucking Kentucky. Like, what the... Or was Indiana? Which one? Whatever.
And there was nothing in, like, the venue's email exchanges to you guys of, like, here's what we have?
We don't have to go into the logistic part of who planned that and didn't plan what they needed to plan. Like it was unbelievable, because we didn't we didn't have subs.
We made it happen.
We made it happen. We fucking found subs that day. But that's something that you run into if you don't know if the venue's providing an actual sound system. Excuse me, that is fucking rude. That shouldn't have happened. The phone going off like that, that's fucked up. It's usually on silent. Imagine I explode.
Why don't we hear some TJ's experience?
Yeah, we're going to go into that. Yeah.
Let's just kind of open the book as to like things that are great about touring, things that are bad about touring, and then we can share some experiences and reflect.
We're going to open up a lot of can of worms with this.
You're coming from another level of touring, which is like even more interesting.
Jesus, I mean, like I said before we started going, it's all mostly bad. But I'm going to try to sprinkle in some of the good here. The good part about touring, man, is the fact that you're touring.
Yeah.
It's the fact that you are doing it. It's something that if you traced as a musician since you were a teenager or preteen, you are doing it. You can say that you did it. You traveled. You've seen places. You've met people. I have met so many different types of people on the road where not a single one has been identical to the other. Right. And I'm grateful and gifted to how many people I've had conversations with, because that's the type of person I am. I cherish everything I experience in other human beings. Other than that, you're playing a show. You're putting it on. I'm a musician, but I was also a little bit more of an entertainer. I put on a show. That's what kind of made you kind of stuck out. A lot of bands that go up on stage, they kind of stare at their feet. They still do it today. Super active. I mean, I'm practically 7 foot tall, but I was as hyper as a freaking squirrel up there. And you put on a show, and your response to those people, the energy, the adrenaline, everything like that, it is addictive. Yeah. So you get to experience that every single night. Was grateful, either if it's 4 people or 40 people or 4,000 people, doesn't matter.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But those are things that you can look forward to every single night, every single day. However, that's about 10% of a tour.
Yeah.
The rest is barely sleeping, barely eating, barely drinking. You're cooped up in a van with 9 guys who are all big, like linebackers, and you're trying to just basically make do with life. And a tour could be 4 days, 4 months, doesn't matter. But just the sheer fact that van gets smaller and smaller every hour that goes by.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you gotta have tolerance. You gotta have, you gotta keep pushing through and stuff like that. But I can go a lot deeper into the bad stuff here, but I won't go spill into it just right away. So that's
keywords, not right away.
Not right away.
Yeah,
it's the blood, sweat, and tears for the fame.
So, as a sound guy working at a venue, what I can tell within the first 5 minutes of meeting a crew and meeting a TM coming in, whether this is going to be a good day or a bad day. I just had the 69 Eyes come into Dingbats. I think this was like their very first show in New Jersey, like they played. So that was awesome. And growing up, like listening to these guys, that was a personal, like awesome show for me to work.
Nice.
And they had two direct supports. The bands were named The Bites and oh god, the name just slipped my mind. But they're both from Los Angeles, and then we had a local. So from the I got my email from the TM. Her name was Jess, so shout out to you. It was the minute-by-minute schedule for sound checks, for lighting cues, for any sound cues, for any, like, you know, hey, if anyone's epileptic and is sensitive to strobe, they gave me everything that I needed, so I didn't have to bother the bands at all. So that is an immediate first impression of what I look for when I'm working a tour that comes through the venue. And if the bands are super cool with their gear, a lot of times the headliner will have their own backline, and then they usually share it with the direct supports because they built that camaraderie, they trust one another. But there are some times where each band on the tour has their own entire backline, and that's really a hassle to change all that. But it's whatever, to help the band. If they're cool about it and they're cool to work with, that's usually great. And usually by like the fourth or fifth show on tour, they get the kinks worked out, so they have a streamlined process. But immediately, if I see like it's a bad experience, if they have, and not to throw other sound guys under the bus here, but if they have their own front of house guy coming with them and he just starts tearing up my console and tearing up my snake and just start inputting his jacks in there without consulting me first, I'm like,
it's like messing with your girlfriend.
I'm like, this ain't gonna be a good day.
Putting things
I had a guy.
Like, what the hell's going on here?
I had a guy once come to me, and I'm usually dry and I joke around. Like it was a 10 a.m. load in, and the show was at 7 p.m. at night. It was 5 bands, and they all wanted sound checks. So this was, I'm not gonna throw any names under the bus here, but
oh, come on.
They came in. They came in. And we set up cones along the side of the venue for them to park their bus in. And they're like, hey, is it cool to park here? And it's 10 o'clock in the morning. I literally just rolled out of bed 45 minutes ago. So I said in a very dry delivery, oh, yeah, I put the cones here for you so you could park. I don't know what happened with me just acknowledging a fact and just saying it, but that pissed off the headlining band and their sound guy. He came in and just immediately just poured out like, hey, you ever meet the guy that was like, hey man, I just want some cool vibes, but really they're just an angry little prick. It was that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, his name was fucking Pubert.
Yes. So he came in and was just immediately like, hey man, I don't know what vibe you're getting, but we just want something cool and we just want to be easy to work with. And I'm like, all right, whatever, cool. 5 minutes later, I see him literally destroying my stage box up there and just throwing my cables around to plug his stuff in. So I'm like, it's basically what I'm trying to say is if you're easy to work with, the show's great. If you're not easy to work with, It's just going to be a disaster from all around. So that was my experience with the what's a good and a bad touring package from a sound guy's perspective. What are some of your guys' like good and bad stories?
We'll start with you because I want to know.
Yeah,
good and bad. Let's see, a good one. Oh man, let me pick one. Just pick one and talk about it. A good one. I did a run with Seven Dust and Pop Evil.
Right.
Nice.
That was my example. The best thing that comes to my mind, respect. Ego was at the door. Ego was out the window, and ego is something I'm going to be talking about a lot probably when we get into the nitty gritty. But when I work with those guys, everyone was on the same par level. I mean, Seven Dust is Seven Dust, dude. Yeah. You played Woodstock.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I could name every album since I've been in school. Like,
yeah, they're one of my favorite bands.
They're talking to me like I've been with them the whole time.
Right.
And everyone there. I mean, before a show, if loading was at 2 p.m., they already got their. They had an RV at the time. They got a grill attached to it. They started cooking out, having some drinks. Hey, how you doing? Nice. Listen to music. Everyone was one for all.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how I get the impression of, okay, it's going to be a good time.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
And when they approach me and say, hey, how you doing? What are you doing? Where are you from? Stuff like that. And you just start BSing. You establish because you're going to be working together.
Right.
All right, if I'm gonna have a bad night on stage, you're gonna have a bad night on stage.
Yeah.
Okay, we're sharing the same bill.
Right.
So ego is when it's non-existent. It's cliche. It's gonna be great, and I got nothing but that from those guys, and I'm grateful for that. The worst is exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
I've worked with bands where it is like the moment I meet you and I want to shake your hand, hey, how you doing? We're gonna have a great time together and stuff like that. And you shut me off like you're God himself, and it's like, all right, well, and you can't really, you can't let that bother you, but you already know what you're in for. You already know what your answer is going to be if you have something to go to the head or something like that, or anybody who's in charge and stuff like that. And I'm going to try really hard not to mention names and get into the details, but some of those guys, man, it's like, I'm a really chilled out person. I'm very non-violent. It takes a lot to get me angry. But I have been on the part where I am going to flip an RV just because of something that's been said or an attitude adjustment. And it's like the God mentality, man, I can't tell you how many stories of that's the worst of the worst. And
can you give us
I wouldn't even know where to begin.
Without naming names, can you give a story?
Or name names, I don't care.
Or name
Okay, so one of my last times out, I did it with a band. My girlfriend at the time was my merch girl.
Your girlfriend at the time was what?
The merch.
My merch girl.
Okay, got you.
Never happens at all in any bands.
Right.
Never. I was very lucky. And it was a good, we worked together, we were together. It wasn't weird, thank God.
Yeah, right.
But she was a huge fan of this band. Huge. So
what band
we
was
did.
this?
I don't know if I want to mention names. But we did some work with them for quite a while, and we were lucky to be on the bill. It was one of my most successful, I guess you would call, money-making gigs. And from the get-go, it was rough. It started out rough. It started because of the ego mentality, the God mentality. Towards the very end of the show, I left them alone. I didn't want to be a bother because I already know they're going to be assholes to me if I open my mouth. The very last night of the show, we're in town, we're in the state where I live in. I was like, you know what? I'm in Florida.
Oh, what part?
I'm currently in, say, the central East Coast, Brevard County type of state. Okay. This was way up in like Daytona area.
Gotcha.
Okay. Actually, like Jacksonville, more like way up North Florida. The last night, man, after this, I'm going home. So she's like, she was really bummed out because she didn't get to meet anybody. She didn't get to meet the band. So it's the last night. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put my foot in. I'm going to say, hey, can you just do me this favor? The very end of the show's over. Everyone's getting loaded up. I go up to their bus and knock at the door. I said, hey, how you doing? I'm TJ. I'm the guitar player from the opening band. I did a lot of work with you guys. I had a great time at the show. Just do me a favor. I don't want a picture. I don't want anything signed. Nothing. I just want you to meet my girlfriend, who's our merch girl. She's a huge fan. Just say hi. 2 minutes. And they literally told me to go fuck myself and slam the door in my face.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that happen on that road that I can go, the reason why I just was livid, because I saw things that I wish I never saw on that fucking road. And I was infuriated. And my own band has never seen me like that before for years. And they were like, we got to get TJ locked up, or he's going to fucking break windows. Mm-hmm. But that type of mentality, man, that was like, dude, I mean, we all busted our ass for you. We're all doing the same thing together. Yeah, okay, you sold more records than me, obviously. But can you at least say hi? Right. Can you at least do me this favor? I busted my ass with you guys. Can you just say hi to her? And I didn't think I was asking much, but they were like, go fuck yourself. And they slammed the door. And it's like, that was probably the second conversation I had on that whole run with the band. And it was just, dude, yeah.
Now, would you say this tour was a buy-on situation, or?
This was an opportunity that was given to us because of mutual friends through management and stuff like that. We knew a lot of promoters, a lot of guys within the Hot Topic era, is what I would call it. Who actually a lot of guys
2003, 2000.
Yeah. Those I call the pretty bands, the screamo, stuff like that. A lot of the guys behind those bands are old school, burnt out '80s rockers. Yeah. And I did a lot of work with older bands like Jackal and oh my God, I did some Vince Neil work and stuff like that.
Wow.
So I got locked in with all those guys, which made me into that pocket.
Okay.
So I was just in the right place at the right time.
Nice.
And I got a lot of work with the Hot Topic stuff. And it was I don't want to get too far into it. We're going to get sidetracked.
Go nuts.
Well, I mean, I've always preferred, because I always said yes to those tours, not because I'm 7 foot. I'm a linebacker. I don't look pretty.
Well,
If I put on eye makeup or eyeliner, I'm not going to look all that great.
Oh, like that. Yeah, that kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I was not fit to look, I'm in my mid-20s at the time, and I can't look like I'm 14.
Right.
But we always said yes to those shows because those shows were the most energetic. I hate to say it. And on a business sense, it's the smartest thing you can do because, all right, so for instance, let's take a band like Sleeping with Sirens or
Right.
Bring Me the Horizon.
Yep.
Correct. Today's standard. Those kids are 14 to 18, 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
They don't drink.
Mm-hmm.
They don't got rent to pay. They don't got a car usually. They're gonna, if they have $40 in their pocket from mom and dad, they're gonna spend $40 on merch.
Yeah.
You know, you do that at a Seven Dust show, it's not the same.
No,
Yeah, especially when you're the direct support or the opening act. There's no one gonna be buying your CD. They're gonna be going to the bar.
Right.
They're gonna be, oh, I got rent, I got
Right.
life and stuff like that. So when I always said yes to these Hot Topic era Kitty tours, because it's like, dude, that's the most money I made.
Yeah.
And merch is mostly all profit.
Right.
Nice.
That's a big help. And when you're pulling in, 4-digit numbers a night on merch, that's a good night, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I took as much. Whenever we got offered a gig like that or a tour like that, I always said yes. I didn't care who it was.
Right.
And I hate to say this is kind of dogging on that era and those kids, but you can do anything you want on that stage, and they're going to go nuts for it.
Huh.
It doesn't matter if you're good or not, and that's dogging me because I was not fitting that type of music. I was not, but they would go nuts if you just said anything. If you just said, "Do you like hot dogs?" They're going to go nuts.
So did you like did the bands that you were in? Were they screamo bands, like that kind of music? What kind of music? So what kind of music were you playing to these guys?
During that time, picture, this is weird to explain, but picture like a shine down with like a saliva edge to it. That type
Okay,
of
so really like mainstream rock.
Okay.
Yeah. More radio, whatever they want to call it today,
Yeah.
dad rock. I don't care. But
What is it?
But
What is that? What's the one you
They call it dad rock now.
Dad rock?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Whatever.
Whereas 10 years ago, like Hall & Oates was dad rock. Now it's
Sure,
like,
it's
Hall &
like,
Oates is bad fucking ass though.
they're no more though. They said they're
It's okay.
done.
That's okay.
Sad.
They always have live at Daryl's house.
Yeah.
Great show. That's kind of what I wanted to make this show about. Have a laugh. He's here right now. But
if you're playing that type of genre and then you throw in some screamo, it's not a good mixture. So at the early times when we got offers like that, I was like, man, are you really want to do this show? But I hate to say it, man. You go on a show like that, it's always going to be a success. You may not be remembered. The kids are not going to listen to the CD after they buy it, but there's just something about that. I mean,
But they did buy you saying you bought your merch though, right?
Oh yeah, like they went nuts for it.
So
I
there
think
was something there. That's
Yeah,
it. That's
people
what
liked
that's
it,
success. Yeah, people liked it. So
To
why
be
would you
true-
hate to say that? I would be like, fucking A, I found a fucking formula out here.
I hate to say it, but the demographic that I experienced with those crowds, it didn't matter who you were. It didn't matter if they liked you or not. They
Right,
just
that's what you were saying too, right?
Yeah. So it's like I had a lot of bad nights on those shows. They just bought the t-shirt anyway because they wanted to wear it to school the next day. And it's
I
like
get it. Are you true fans? Are you bummed out? What do you mean bad nights? Like
bad as in performance.
bad nights as in like just performance wise,
Okay,
just
yeah.
terrible on a band sense.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, it's embarrassing moments, but to a 14-year-old, it's not going to be embarrassing. They're going to
Right.
have the time.
Right, they don't fucking give a shit, right?
They don't give a shit
They're
about
there
what
to
we're
have fun, which is awesome.
Yeah.
That's why you're doing it. So,
doing.
that's a lot of good stuff, within the hate to say it
Yeah, I'm trying to filter it. I'm trying to lean into it.
I really want to know who that band was.
Oh, maybe later I'll tell you.
All right.
So,
Oh God, it's crazy.
You want to talk about a story? Or should
Well,
I
I
go?
mean, I could talk. No story really comes to me except for like the people that I was with. Like that's, and like logistics again. Like if you're not all putting in the effort, like I had a band that the singer, they're great guys. They are a great hardworking band. They play all these shows. They go on tours, but the singer literally loads their equipment in and out. So I was watching them sit on the side, watching us loading the equipment, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? They're like, oh yeah, man, what? And I'm like, come on, help. And they're like, oh yeah, sure. I'm like, well, and I had to like tell them, like, guys, I'm not loading your equipment. Like, I know we're sharing it, but like, we should all be doing this together. This guy does it by himself all the time. And I put them on the spot, and he's like, oh, I don't mind. I'm like, no. This is fucked up. I'm not doing this. He shouldn't be doing this. You guys should be helping him. And I'm going to help him, and I'm not going to watch you watch me help him. So when we play these shows, we're going to fucking do it together. Like, all right. Cool. It's like, all right, fucking yeah, cool.
It
Let's
is. I
fucking
mean,
do it.
it's going back to egos, you know? Like,
I don't even think it was an ego thing with them. I think they just played so dumb, like, or like they didn't think they were better than you or anything. It was just like, no, he'll do it. It's cool. It's like, no, he won't. You're going to do it.
yeah.
If I'm here, you're going to do it. Otherwise, I'm not doing it.
on a tour, right? Like, you get put in all these different situations from the band's perspective. Like, so I had this tour, and also wanted to mention that this tour was a buy-on, and that typically, if a band is buying on to tours, that could be seen in the industry as a buy-on band. You don't necessarily want to do that. So it's...
But there's a
you know,
place for it, for sure.
Yeah, there's a place for it. I mean, you know...
If it makes sense. Yeah.
If it makes sense, I guess. But,
Some crazy
so anyways, we bought onto this...
we'll get there.
tour situation, and this band had their own. They had bought a Class A RV and essentially converted it into a tour vehicle where they had bunks, and you would buy onto the tour for a 2-week slot. They would book the shows, travel all year round, and we would share gear and, you know, essentially live on the bus with them for those 2 weeks. So
What band was this? Oraculum?
no, with Sonaro and
Okay.
Mansion, actually.
Okay, yeah.
Incredible story, you know, like, these guys, like, I would consider them lifelong, like, brothers because of the stuff we've gone through. But it was crazy, you know, like, we basically flew into New Mexico. I had my double bass pedal, snare drum, cymbals, minimal gear that we
Breakable.
could share, exactly.
Except for hardware.
And the other band was cool, you know, there was a little bit of an ego with the vocalist, whatever. But, you know, everything was great. We stayed overnight in New Mexico, then we played Lubbock, Texas the next day. And then we went to Walmart, you know, spent the night, we parked big vehicles. And then we started driving over to San Angelo, Texas. And on the way to San Angelo, this bus started overheating and broke down on the side of the road.
Damn.
I just picked up some groceries from Walmart, you know, like some PB&J, whatever, quick food you could eat, you know.
Breaking it down in Texas is not ideal.
Oh, no. So it was fine, but like, I go to the back, I check out, there's just no coolant in there. So I was like, okay, maybe we should, you know, see if we can go get some coolant, whatever. But that wasn't even necessarily the issue. This thing just was not maintained. I mean,
Hose was busted.
you know, like, I've worked as a mechanic, and I've done, you know, taking things apart, putting them back together, whatever. It just, it needed a little love, you know, so, mechanically speaking.
Right.
So we, you know, we kept going, and, you know, basically 2 of the guys from the other band hitched a ride with these nice people from down south. You know, Southern hospitality is a real thing out there. And,
Lucky the hills have eyes, isn't it?
Right. So, okay, they got the thing, the coolant, we're on our way, and the thing's still overheating and whatever. Basically, we're two hours late to the gig. And we're 2 hours late to the gig, and the show happened already, and, you know, we're just,
man.
yeah. So some of the locals are hanging out at the bar, and there's this older, like, shady looking lady there.
Oh, yeah.
And she's just asking us, you know, like, what are you guys doing here? I feel so bad for you. Like, you're so late, whatever. How about I just treat all of you out to dinner? And the other, like, you know, we're from New York, New Jersey, and when someone's just like nice like that to you,
it just
like,
weirds you out.
Yeah,
like we're not used to people being nice up here.
Yeah, so the guy from the other band's like,
your first instinct's like, where are the bodies?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. So, you know, we hop in the back of the truck, in this pickup truck, and was just like driving through Texas. And she took us to this amazing Tex-Mex spot. And throughout the course of this dinner, she's sitting there telling us, you know, like, you guys are probably wondering why a bunch of guys with tattoos, or, you know, why a lady like me would hang out with a bunch of guys with tattoos. But I'm from Compton. I'll kill you if I have to. And like, over the course of this dinner, I swear to God, she said it like 3 times, and I think like 6 of us went with her.
Do you think she was bipolar?
No. She was actually just like a really nice lady.
Okay.
But
she was from Compton.
She was from Compton. You don't want to mess with her. So, you know, she's saying this, and everybody's kind of looking at each other like, oh shit, okay. It was like awkward.
It was like when's Leatherface coming out?
Yeah. So whatever. She took us back to the venue, dropped us off. We were stuck there the whole next day. Some mechanic was supposed to come look at it. We didn't make it to the next town, which was San Antonio, Texas.
Damn.
So we missed San Antonio, but the venue that we were supposed to play in San Angelo the night before allowed us to play that night with another tour package. So that was cool. Next morning, mechanic shows up 8 a.m. You know, we get this thing. He goes under, I don't know. I don't even know what he did. I guess he replaced something. I wasn't even paying it. At that point, I was just like, whatever. So now we're driving. Now the drive is from San Angelo to, I think it was Houston. So this is now supposed to be like a 4-hour drive through the desert. Hopefully everything's good and we're not breaking down somewhere. So now we're like 2 hours out in the middle of nowhere. Like absolutely the middle of nowhere.
Oh no.
And of course the serpentine belt breaks.
Oh no.
Now we're like really in the middle of nowhere and limited food and water, you know, on the side of the road.
This is crazy.
And yeah, like
no, it gets crazier.
It does get crazier. So, you know, this is like the start of it. You know, we first initially broke down, and people's real sides start to come out when reality kicks in. You know, and you know, when you start thinking like you have a certain amount of food and water. So, anyways, that was the initial thing, right? So then we're on the middle of this highway. There's like oil being pumped out of the fields on the left side, and on the right side it's like looks like African savanna, like you would see a lion walking by or some shit. But anyways, this guy comes up to the car in a truck, and he had like messed up teeth and everything, and like just didn't look like he was all there. And he's just like, what are you guys doing here? And like asking us like weird questions and stuff. And then
what was the weirdest question he asked you?
I don't even know.
What are you guys doing here?
Like, yeah, he's just like, why are you here? Like, it's like, we broke down. Like, so he takes his truck like a quarter mile down the highway, and turns around, drives over the middle, and turns around and just faces us and sits there watching us for like 20 minutes.
What the fuck?
And we're like, all right, this is weird. You know,
the hills
like,
have eyes, shit.
Yeah. And
this is the start of every horror movie that takes place in Texas.
Like,
this is the start of every single
it's a
movie.
Great story, actually.
So these guys are, you know, I specifically remember this being a quote where one of the members of the band was like, "This is like some Texas Chainsaw Massacre shit. This is like unbelievable. Like, we gotta get the fuck out of here. What's going on?" They're freaking out, you know, like. And at the end of the day, I'm just like, everybody just calm down. Everything's gonna be all right if you just calm the fuck down, you know? So this is the crazy part. So at one point, this is like 2 hours later, and whatever, certain people are like, I don't know, trying to figure out what's going on. And I'm walking to the front of the bus. I was walking out to go have a cigarette. And the lady that took us to dinner was standing in front of the door. And
she's your guardian angel.
And I took a step back. I was like, "This is it. Like, it's over." You know.
Yeah.
You fucked her. Now she's from Compton. She's gonna kill
Yeah,
you.
right. It was the whole situation was everybody was freaking out, screaming. It was so funny. It was so funny.
You guys were scared more than like,
absolutely. They thought that she was gonna fucking shoot us or something.
because the way she said it in the conversation, how she would fuck.
No.
But
Just the fact that she showed up like 2.5 hours away in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, like she planned the whole thing.
I don't know, man. Like, you know. So anyway,
She would have just knocked on the window and be like, that belt's not going well, is it? And just giving you like creepy smile.
So okay, it gets even better. So turns out she was a debt collector for the IRS, and she would go between city to city and just genuinely just saw us on the side of the road, broken down, and decided to pull over and help us. You know, like a good person would do. And so then 2 of the members of the band went with her to get food and like supply, whatever. Like basically the closest tow truck that could tow a bus like that was over 100 miles away. So we waited it out, thought like maybe at some point at night this thing's gonna show up. We spent the night on the highway. So we just brought out lawn chairs.
Did the guy that was staring at you go
just
away
sitting
yet?
on the middle of a highway? No. So what? Yeah. She took the guys. She brought them back, got us food and like whatever.
The guy that was spying on you.
I don't know. He just went off. So
Okay.
I never.
All right.
We
Well,
never
I was in the back of my head the whole time. No,
then we get next morning, like early morning, this tow truck finally shows up, tows us to this wonderful town, Kingsland, Texas, in the middle of nowhere. We got left in the back parking lot of this, I think O'Reilly Auto Parts or something, Advanced Auto Parts.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, I forget which one it was specifically, but we're there, and at this point we hadn't showered in like 3 days. It was just a rough situation.
Yeah.
Like, so me and the band decided to take a walk down the road and like see if we could find a hotel or something, just and just freshen up for a second, get food and just get back to reality. And we're walking, and we walked like, first we went to one hotel, and this guy was looking at me like he didn't like my skin color or something.
You're in the wrong place.
So I was like, all right, let's just fucking.
Oh, you're in that part of Texas.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we kept walking, and then we see this like nice place with like these like, they look like nice cabins basically, and very well maintained property and everything. We go there, old lady sitting at the desk, and
she's the mother of the IRS lady.
No. She's like, it's just like a beautiful place and everything. And she's like, people come here from all over the world. And we're like, why do people come over here?
Right.
And, like, what's the significance of this place?
Right.
And she's like, oh, this is where they filmed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
No way!
I swear to God. But throughout this whole
Hold on, now I gotta look up where this may be.
it was... Just the whole thing was so crazy. Basically, we were stuck in Kingsland for 5 days because we had a Class A RV that needed a specific serpentine belt that had to be delivered from California. Right. And you can't just find parts like a Ford Econoline or E150 or whatever, like a normal car or some shit. So while being stuck in Texas, we met this group of pastors who owned this coffee shop, and they invited us to play a show, put out the word on Facebook, invited out like 200 people to this coffee shop. It was the best show of the tour.
Wow.
It was amazing.
That's awesome.
I've made lifelong friends from that experience. But this stuff happens. So like, imagine a band goes through something like that, and then they're showing up to the venue and give some sort of attitude, right? Like, I was at a point where like,
you would
I was just
anybody?
Like, whatever, like anything goes at this point. Like, literally, like it doesn't even matter, It's
a good story to put things into context.
Fun fact that you just mentioned Kingsland, Texas. The original house from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a bed and breakfast. You can stay there and eat there.
So we randomly
this
happened to just walk right into that bed and breakfast.
That's amazing.
And
that's such a good story.
Unbelievable. You can't even make that up. Can't even make that up.
So I think we all established that number one, guys, definitely is leave your egos at the door, especially if you're going to be sharing a bus and an RV with another band. Yeah. Leave your egos at the door and just be professional. I think that's a very obvious statement here. Number two, I'm saying this from my point of view as a guy who works at one of the venues that you guys are coming to play at. Organization is key. If you have a tour manager, make sure that he or she is following up with the venues that you're playing at to see, hey, what gear does your venue have? If you're limited with gear or you're bringing your own backline, it's good to always find out what speakers, what PA, what lighting systems that the venues that you're playing at have, so you guys can coordinate with your own sound guys or your own lighting tech, or even just exchange a couple messages with the house guys. Organization is key, and I think what will get you guys as a band for sure invited back to a venue is if you are communicative and you are open with conversations and just being easy to work with as far as gear goes. Because to throw these guys, I'm not going to throw them under the bus, but we had a 5 tour band package come in, and I had no tech riders, no schedule, nothing. And one of the bands came in, has their own console, their own stage box, their own sound guy, their own lighting guy. Then the next band had their own console but no sound guy for whatever weird reason, so I had to learn an entire console that day. And then the third band had their own sound guy that was going to use our console, but they had their own mics and cables. So literally the entire stage was a bed of black spaghetti with all the cables on there, and none of the bands wanted to strike their stuff. And you guys know how big Dingbats' stage is. Even just having 2 bands worth of gear on there is a tight fit. For those of you who may not know, it's like 20 foot wide, 10 foot deep, so it's a tiny stage. So we had 5 bands come in, and this was that tour I told you about. That it was 11 a.m. noon load-in. Doors were 7, so it was all 6.5 hours were just nothing but sound check, and I was dead by the time the show started. So definitely number 2, I think we can all agree, is organization is key.
Yeah, have your shit together as a band, know what you're going into. And then comes back to what we usually talked about one of our first conversations, which was knowing that and then getting along with the sound guy for the rest of the gig and having a good show. Yeah, I don't know. I was going to ask about hygiene because I think that's so important. If you're on the road with somebody that long, and there was this kid, I'm not going to name his name, but he just fucking didn't take a shower ever, and he smelled.
Oh, man.
And it was just... such a nice guy, but like I'm like, you smell, man. You gotta fucking take a shower. You know, fucking keep clean. We all got to deal with that.
No,
you
it's
know?
a big deal. When it gets that bad, dude, when your first time out and your first time even going anywhere, the idea of going to a truck stop and using a public shower is like absolutely not.
Yeah.
Very quickly though, it's a luxury.
Oh yeah, those pilots, hell yeah.
Yeah, I
like in front of people, you take a
No,
shower?
you get your own little shower.
No.
Pilot, they have,
No, it's like $5. You can go there and you can get like a 10-minute shower time.
Yeah,
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's like the air tire thing.
And they actually keep that shit clean.
they do.
So it's not bad.
I see a lot of bands stay in gyms, like Planet Fitnesses and stuff.
Yeah, you get a free shower.
Nita Ford does that with Dean. Stayed to keep clean. It's important. I don't know if that's number 3 though. I'm just saying. I was wondering in general. I just didn't mean to interrupt.
Well,
it's a big deal though.
That is a big deal.
Yeah, especially when you're as big as you and you're with 4 other big fucking.
For real. And at the time, I had hair down on my ass, and when you have long hair, even as a guy, when you sweat, it shows, and you got to put on an appearance. You got to put on a show, and if you look like ramen noodles come out, people are going to say, "These guys did terrible." I was the dry shampoo captain queen of the road. I was, you learn really quick what baby powder does for the body.
Yeah.
And no, it's a big deal. I mean, jokes aside, it's dude, if you start sinking, we're all going to start sinking. It's just, it catches on real quick.
Keep your fucking holes clean.
Oh yeah.
So what would be like if we're gonna like think of a third golden rule of touring? I mean, leaving your egos at the door and being organized and having your shit together.
Yeah. And then third.
I don't know if this falls in the same category as being organized, but the mentality.
Yeah.
I have the mentality. It's not just about being organized and being chill and leaving your ego at the door. It's like, dude, I've been on a showcase where everything's late. Load-in's late, sound check's late. I've showed up the very last minute as the direct support. I did a show with I forgot the name. It was Mike Portnoy's band though. He was the drummer.
The Winery Dogs?
No, not them.
Sons of Apollo.
What is it called? Mafia something.
Yes. Yes, Adrenaline Mob.
Adrenaline Mob, yeah.
Russell
That's it.
Allen, yeah.
So I did work with them where literally I would show up, okay, they did sound check and stuff, okay, let's load in, let's do backline, all right, cool. You load in, I had nothing mic'd. Okay, what's going on? I go to the sound guy, what's going on? Well, no, they need 4 inputs on the bass cabinet. They need, Mike has ridiculous amount of microphones on his drum kit. Okay, cool. The average guy is going to get annoyed, pissed off, grumpy, stuff like that. But the mentality is, all right, you give me 1 microphone, let's make it work.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what we did.
Right.
And because of that mentality, you being not just professional, organized, but just don't. By the time you're done bitching and moaning and throwing a fit, what is that going to do to you? It's going to make you look like shit.
Yeah.
You're going to have a bad show.
Yeah.
The audience is going to know everything about it. You have to shut that down mentality.
That does have something to do with ego too, though, because you're like, I fucking want 1.
Yeah,
like in
a way.
But also, I think the mentality part to speak to it is really, can you leave your home for that long and be cool with being on the road?
Absolutely.
And like, I think that's like the real main thing. Like,
Yeah,
your luxury,
mental toughness.
Mental toughness, yeah.
But if you think about it, really, like when you're a band starting out or doing your first, second, third tour, hopefully you're working your way up to the point where you're getting guarantees and getting hotels.
Getting better,
at
you're
night,
better.
staying every, in a nice, comfortable spot every night. But you don't get there overnight.
Right.
And in order to be the type of person to really, work your way up to that,
You gotta have
it
that
takes
mental toughness. Yeah,
Yeah,
resilience,
yeah.
right.
So it's
Resilience.
That's where
what
you
it
gotta
is.
leave the ego out of the table. And
I mean, following up with
It's
with-
more than ego, though. It's
Yeah.
like you said, like the mentality of
Right.
like being able to be like,
Hustle,
all right, I'm not
yeah.
gonna see my family for a while, and like you're so used to doing shit, like, and you have your certain way, and then you start getting bored. You're like, what am I gonna do with this time that I would be doing this? I'd be doing this instead. Oh my god, like, and I gotta fucking sit here with these guys. I don't even like this guy. Damn
I'm
it,
going through it
this guy
today.
smells.
I'm living with I'm engaged now, the fiance, and
congratulations.
I'm
Yeah,
35 years old, and I'm 35.
Oh, good. I'm 41.
And I'm just now experiencing things that normally you'd experience in your early 20s.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have the privilege of going to see a movie or just a simple life. Now, I have a ridiculous amount of collections. I have, crazy stuff. I'm able to experience that stuff, and people are like, I'm kind of late to the party, but you don't get to do that. When you're away from home, you're away from family, you're away from relationships.
Yeah.
There's nothing to build. There's nothing to grow with, and you're still stuck in that mentality of
Yeah.
it's all you know.
Right.
and if your relationship's rocky before you go on the
Yeah,
road,
dude,
you don't know what's
That-
going on at home, and that affects everything.
Yeah, that affects
I
everything.
wanted to follow up because, like, you guys being drummers, I know this might trigger both of you, but like sometimes when I have a touring drummer come in and he has like a Mike Portnoy type kit where he has like 8 million toms that like he'll only play once.
Mike Portnoy could do that because he's Mike Portnoy. But yeah.
So when they come in and I
Yeah,
start seeing this monstrosity kit, like it makes a Cadillac Escalade look like a Tonka toy. So like I'm seeing this huge drum kit coming in, and I'm like, I only got 4 tom mics, so I don't know like what
he's
you
expecting. Yeah.
And I get the tech writer from him. He's like, you don't have this amount of mic, you don't have these mics, and he's listing like Neumann's, like a mic that costs more than my car for like his toms. I'm like, yeah, we don't have that. We have a couple SM57s, and we have a couple of these that are.
What do, buddy?
He's like, and he throws a temper tantrum. I'm like, really?
Was
like,
he a good drummer, by the way?
oh, he's a phenomenal drummer. So I'm like, I expect a little bit of ego with that, but I'm like, all right, look, let's be honest here. You're gonna play this tiny little like 5-inch rack tom right here for like a little effect. You're not going to play this. This doesn't need to be mic'd up. But what I can do is, here's a microphone. This is going to cover 3 of these toms
Right.
here.
Yeah,
this mic's going to cover these 3 toms.
Right.
And just trust me to get your sound going good in sound check. And sure enough, during sound check, he's going around and he does a reluctant, all right, I guess I'll do. And then
Well, here's
it
another
ends
thing,
up working.
Tailing off that, as like if you want to be efficient, get used to not playing so many things and having like less, because less means less setup time. You're more efficient. Like I built my drum set in a way where set it up where it takes like maybe 12 minutes to
for
set
sure.
up.
Yeah.
That's also a thing of like maturing. Like I used to at one point in Darkness Descends have
because
play on my
you start
and
that way.
everybody
Everybody
encouraged it and whatever.
You learn.
But over the years, I started to form the kit that would fit on the Dingbats Razor.
Or
like basically, and know exactly what the limit of that was. And
Honestly, that exact thing is so important when you're an active touring musician.
oh yeah,
That reputation is when a club owner or a stagehand or a promoter, they see that, they're going to want to call you back.
yeah,
I had a huge guitar rig. I had a full stack, 2 4x12 cabinets, a huge road case, 2 heads, rack gear. That stuff was one plug. You plug it on the wall, plug it in, done, switch it on. And I had record time at the band at the time. I had a 5-minute setup time.
That's crazy.
Most bands were like, I need 20 minutes and stuff like that. Everyone on the build. But just the sheer fact that I ran it like, go. No time to talk, just go. Give me a plug in and play. First of all, you don't want it to eat into your set time.
Right.
You don't want to you want to bleed into the next guy's set time because then you're screwed. You'll get fucking fired at that point. But when you build that mentality and that reputation, it pays off, dude. Like when you get just pointed out by that shit, it goes a long way. That's how I got the call. I did a night out in Tampa, and I think I played for, I don't know who I played for, but I literally got the call the next day because of the promoter of that show. He loved the way that we put on. We were professional. We were on the stage, and we were so quick with our gear and so quick with our show that he's like, "You guys want to go play for Motorhead?" I'm like, "Where and when and where?"
You
like,
opened for Motorhead?
We were signed onto the bill, and then Lemmy got sick.
Oh, right.
The show
this is
didn't
before he
happen,
died?
No, he got sick. This was a few years before he died. Thank God.
Okay.
But I literally got the call the next day. I'm like, "What the hell is this?" It's like, "Hey, you guys want? I'll give you the show." Just from having that reputation.
Yeah. It goes a long way. Which have your shit together. Like that's it kind of goes back. It's like the top 2 things.
Don't be an asshole and have your shit together.
Don't be an asshole is probably it.
Don't piss off whatever venue you're playing at. Like you can treat how you want to treat your bandmates and whatever. Like treat people however you want. That's for you guys to decide. But for me, as the representative of the venue that you're playing at that night, how you interact with the venue just goes leaps and bounds, because like there are other touring bands that can sell out dingbats that we're like, we don't want you here because you're just this terrible of people to work with.
Goes back to being a prick.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, honestly, in the same subject, there's also some psychological warfare that bands will put against you to fuck with you, and that's the same mentality. One of the first gigs I did that was kind of like whatever. To me, they were not all that mainstream. Band called Jackal. The guys who played Chainsaw on stage, and they did all that stuff.
Yeah.
I got offered a gig with them. I said, "Sure, we'll take it. We'll do a few nights with them." They had it under contract. I'm putting them under the bus. But I don't give a shit about them. They had it under contract. The opening band will not have colored lenses in the lights. They will not have a soundtrack. They will not have. They were demanding these things.
So you didn't sound as good as they did?
Whatever that's probably the mentality that they have, but I call it psychological warfare against other bands. And you're going to find guys like that. You're going to find bands like that who are just gonna be like, "Oh, you want to be professional? We're going to fucking throw a wrench in your whole system. That way you're going to be miserable and have a bad show. We're going to look better." You got to expect that sometimes.
That's crazy.
Like going back to what we started with, your first idea of your first impressions, it's going to set a long way.
Yeah.
That falls in that same category, but you will have situations where it's like people will just fucking treat you like dog shit professionally without even being in the room. And just to have you got to shrug it off, get it off your shoulder, like whatever, man, we're going to make it work. We got to play the show. I've seen bands who's been straight up, it worked, and they were like, "Fuck you, we're out of here, we're not on the bill." They would pull out, they would go home. But obviously, what's that going to do for you? Nothing. But it's remarkable how many bands I've seen put on that whole smoke and mirrors act, where it's like, no, they want you to fail. They want you to fuck up. Really.
The haters are the haters.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Touring can be both amazing and also detrimental to not only your personal reputation and your professional like attitude, but also just mental health with everything. And touring is both for all the bands. You can do it, but it's also not for everybody.
Yeah, there's bands that don't do it.
And I think this is a good place to stop this, guys. If you want to think of going out on the road and tour, just be prepared and leave egos at the door, and that will get you, I think we can all generally say, like 75 to 80% of the way there if you just are organized and you aren't an asshole to work with.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
have your shit on lockdown before you leave too, so you don't have to worry about it and it hinder your experience.
Here's a closing question for everybody.
Yeah.
Where do you think touring's going to? Where do you think the future of touring is going to? Where do you think it's...
As much as I hate to say it, I think... God, I really don't want to give him credit, but I really do think that KISS is going to be at the forefront of it. Holograms and artificial intelligence.
Yeah. Well, that's
doing an entire laser show.
Big level.
Yeah, we're talking about a local level. For local levels, I think it's going to be where it is. It's going to be harder and harder and harder to do it, and you need to use the internet to leverage yourself to get better shows, to put yourself out there to get the more opportunities that are going to allow you to play better shows. Like instead of just going and doing it organically, do it organically. Get your shows out. Go play the shows, but also do the content creation. That's what we're doing as a unit right now.
Streaming.
Everything with what you're saying, though, in a way, is also a double-edged sword, because I feel like,
it's both, though.
Post-pandemic, really, it seems like, there's a lot of different things. A lot of bands broke up. A lot of new bands are... Yeah. It's like a renaissance of, like, the arts, right? So, like...
But the approach is
now, there's all these solo projects coming out, everything. So, like, in this whole new, formations of bands and artists, people are going to be going out and trying to tour and get this stuff out there that much more. The market's more oversaturated, and it's going to start to weed out the people that are unprofessional and not on top of their shit.
Well, I think that's going to happen faster because people don't have the ability to do that in the first place. And if they want to have the ability to do it, they're going to find out really fast how hard it is. So there's always going to be that happening, and I'm never going to take that away from anybody wanting to do that. But there's also being smart about it. And being selective and starting if you can't do it in your backyard and you're going to put yourself out there in a situation where you're financially going to be taking a loss because it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Not for me. I will stay where I am. I'm perfectly fine with what I'm doing. But I want to have those types of shows that are great. And the only way to really do that, and we know this from the experiences that we have, is to have an online presence. And that online presence will get you those opportunities that you want. So those tours that you want to take are better. And you still got to play out, though. There's nothing wrong with that. But you can be very strategic about it. And if we're not doing that as local artists or anything a little higher, we're not talking about KISS level. Fuck KISS level. I don't care about KISS level. Yeah, they've done their thing. It's now time for bands that don't have a chance to fucking do their thing. That's why we're here. Fuck every other band that you ever heard of all the time on all the radio stations. It's about really having newcomers come on and have the chance to do that. I'm not saying that just about myself to say it because I want to do it. It's the fucking truth. And this is the only way to do that.
And you led right into what I was going to say for, like, obviously on a national level, the big touring acts, yeah, but for local bands who are coming in, I see this all the time at Dingbats. I mean, I record every band's set on the board as is, just like as a courteous because of the way I run my YouTube channel.
Value for sure.
Just, hey, if you guys let me use your music here's a free board recording of your whole set for whatever. And the mix, I know the mix sounds good because, not to toot my own horn, because I think it sounds good.
What you're doing.
Yeah, I know what I'm doing.
10,000 hours.
So what I think a lot of bands are doing that are coming into the venue, they set up GoPros on every single angle around the stage, like even angles that I never thought of. And I'm seeing a lot of creative ways that bands are filming their own sets. Right. And then by default, they would say, hey, can we have the recording of the board? And then a week or two later, I see an edited performance. And I'm like, oh, holy shit.
You're talking to two people that did that
with
you.
Holy shit. Like,
we took our performance you guys, that we edited and we're putting it out now. And it's
you guys literally are doing exactly what I see all the time. And I think with how easy it is to get on the internet, live streaming is a big, huge trend that I'm seeing a lot of bands doing.
Just do it the best you can, because you want your music to translate over. If you sound really awesome live, capture that live sound. That's awesome. But then there's the quality recordings that you have, and using those as well. And then the combination of both, you're going to be able to keep people's interest, and they're going to want to see you. And you have some campaigns with some advertising, but whatever. Regardless, that's where it's going. That's where good. That's how you're gonna get the fucking better opportunity and networking, of course.
I'm curious to ask you the same question and what you have to say about it.
Well, I'm gonna be the odd one out. I think it's over.
Yeah. Like if you're not doing what we're talking about as a proponent of what to do, it's like very tough.
I just think in my last run out, my personal experience, it's such a different. I say my last run out, the last band I worked with, I wasn't a part of the band, but I worked with them. It was a band called Modern Day Escape.
Okay. I feel
part of that screamo.
Very vaguely familiar.
Yeah.
I was shocked by how many. They were one of many bands I worked with where it's like they had millions of hits on YouTube and so forth, social media and stuff like that. You go to the show, there's just 2 people.
Okay, so that shows exactly what I'm talking about as not
I just
effective.
think the whole industry has changed naturally. It's mutated into, back in the day, for the longest time since the 80s, it's like get to people to your show.
Right.
You what do? You promote, you flyer, blah, blah, blah. Then it became Facebook posts, then it became all these other things, social media posts, get people to your show. Now, put the show to the people.
Right.
Yeah.
And now it's live streaming. Now it's YouTube. Now it's all this stuff. And I think personally, the most success I've seen in bands personally is on social media and on YouTube.
Yeah.
I've seen people make money on YouTube versus not costing them money to go on.
Like you doing. You're a sound guy. You're not even in a band, and you're
I'm just awkwardly sitting here now because TJ said, "Oh, touring is over," and this is why. And he's like, I'm literally doing exactly what he's doing."
You're doing exactly what he's saying to do.
Yeah, like bringing the show to the people.
Yeah, so bringing the show to the people. That's good, and then you can really target, like if learning how to target your cities that you're playing in or that you want to play in, you hit those venues up and you start making a noise in there. You don't just go and play that shit. You got to really be strategic about it, and that's what I think the difference is. I think it's just the hybrid of both. And if you're playing out still organically like you should be, and then the right things, and you're doing that at the same time, and you're bringing that live show, and you're showing we just played this here and wherever, and we're gonna play your city, here we come. And we're going to play these 3 songs. What do you guys think the set list should be? Like, whatever you want to say. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be bringing that to the people yourself. I
think the most success I see in bands today, and the music that I listen to personally, I see them doing the reversal. I see them being huge hits first on YouTube.
Yep. Yeah.
And from their bedroom.
Yeah.
And they're being, to the point where you don't need management.
Right.
You don't need anybody to back you. Right. You're already making money.
Right.
You're already in the profit. Right. Okay, let's go on the road. And they're taking off. One band right now called Dragged Under. Those guys are mostly all YouTubers. Same realms with Rob Scallon and Jared Dines, the guys that
Yeah.
Dude, if they did a show, it's going to sell out.
Yeah, for sure.
But they're doing the reversal where it's like they don't need to play, they don't need the tour, but they would do it for the passion of playing in front of people.
And it would be good.
It would be great. It'd be a huge hit. But I just think that's the future. I think
I couldn't agree with you more, man. I couldn't agree with you more.
I mean, I think it's easier where I can pick up my phone like this and see a show. Versus people who are like, now I get in a car, I'm going to drive down to the venue, and I'm going to spend money at the bar. And they start thinking about things like that before the band, and you kind of got to sell yourself. Obviously, you have a product to sell, and I think that's the big rope, that's the big swing where this whole industry is going.
Yeah, he hit the nail on the head right there. TJ just nailed it because one of the number one messages that I always get from people who watch my live streams and. I mean, for those of you who may not know, I stream every show I work at Danebats. You have the board audio mixed with room mics, so it feels like you're at the show. And I stream from both the side angle where you can see me doing my thing behind the board,
POV.
but also you have a wide shot where it's like you can see the stage in the whole performance. So anyway, the one of the biggest comments I get from my live stream is, hey, I was thinking of going to this show, but I'm thankful that you streamed it, because for whatever reason they didn't want to come out that night. So they're like, hey, just want to say thanks for streaming this, and I can actually watch the show anytime I want now.
And that's cool. And then the other people that would actually be like, yo, I will go check them out next time, because that's
I
what'll
just
happen,
get-
or
I
they
get
buy
pretty-
merch or whatever.
I get pretty salty because it's like I still go on Twitch once in a while and I'll see musicians play.
Yeah.
I'll see a whole band play in their house.
Yeah.
Mic'd up, they sound great because they're sitting there and they'll just play whatever they want, not even a full set. They'll just play on Twitch and talk to the chat. I've seen a band make $5,000.
All right,
Yeah,
well,
I'm sitting
we're
there at-
on to something, because that's exactly what we're going
Yeah,
for.
thanks for giving. Thanks
No,
for
it's not.
highlighting
That's
a new
exactly-
business model.
I'm just
it's
saying.
exactly what we were going for, and
Like-
that's something we've been talking about for a long time, and everybody should be talking about. Is that the point?
Yeah.
Right. Look at Samus. He's a drummer. He didn't go with the record deal. He fucking went and did his own thing, and now he's like he goes and plays for Devin Townsend because Devin Townsend found him on the internet, right?
Yeah.
So it just opens up the fucking. It's just never going away. The internet's the way. I got to take my own advice. We are taking it. That's why we're doing this fucking show. That's why we have this channel. And I'm glad we can have you on here. I know we could speak more deeply and keep going deeper. I think we wrapped it up first. Some really good
This
points.
was
a great
this
conversation.
was a breath of fresh air as far as conversation goes, and just being genuine. So, with that being said, guys, thank you as always for my tag team partners
Yeah,
here, but
pleasure.
TJ especially. Thanks for joining us, man. Thanks for giving us your time tonight to tape this show. Where can people find you on YouTube and Instagram?
Oh, Jesus. Mostly, I'm just on the YouTube now. Cookie Riot. That's my channel.
How you spell it? COOKIE.
K-O-O-K-I-E.
See? Yeah,
R-I-O-T.
There you go.
So, Cookie Riot, I guess.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm just on there. I pump out videos once in a while when I feel like it.
Nice. All right. Well, keep doing it, because that's awesome. You have a lot of awesome value to add.
And everyone should check out his solo covers record that he recently released. So definitely check out his music. Thanks, TJ, very much for your time. Thank you guys as always.
Yep.
And we'll see you in the next episode. Take care, guys.
Awesome.
There you go.